really
I'm
believe
telling you the
this?
truth. There's no systemic racism that I've experienced here in America. What system is racist?
Whew, we gotta dive in because, man, I have an example. My name's Dr. Joel, the Medical Mythbuster, and today let's talk about systemic racism in medicine. To do that, I want to use the example of one specific device called a spirometer. Spirometry is a test that doctors use to measure how healthy your lungs are. It's used for conditions like asthma and COPD. But for decades, if you were Black or Asian, your test results were automatically adjusted downwards, making it harder to be diagnosed with different conditions. But to understand how that device plays into systemic racism, we have to rewind through history. Starting in 1795. It was then that Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, wrote in notes on the state of Virginia without evidence that enslaved Africans had weaker lungs than white people. Then in 1846 came along English surgeon John Hutchinson, who created the spirometer. He made it as a useful medical tool for measuring lung disease and military fitness. In the United States, a Louisiana doctor named Samuel Cartwright took that tool and used it on enslaved people. He claimed that the spirometer proved that Thomas Jefferson was right, that Black people had lower lung capacity. He even argued that slavery was good for them because forced labor supposedly revitalized their lungs. But here's where the systemic part comes into play. Instead of rejecting the myth, medicine absorbed it. By the 20th century, spirometers came with something called a race correction. If you were Black, your lung results were automatically lowered by 10 to 15%, and if you were Asian, by 4 to 6%. In fact, up until 2021, up to date, the world's most utilized medical reference by doctors still said that Black patients had lower lung function as if it were a biological fact. That race correction meant that what was labeled abnormal for a white patient could be labeled normal for a Black or Asian patient. That led to misdiagnoses, delayed treatments, denied disability claims, and less lung transplants. And the worst part, most doctors didn't even realize that race was adjusting values because it was built directly into the machine. It wasn't until 2022 that the Global Lung Function Initiative released race-neutral equations. And in 2023, the American Thoracic Society recommended a race-neutral approach to reading the pulmonary function tests. Some places are only now just phasing them out. That's what systemic racism is. It's not just one patient being dismissed by the healthcare system. It's racist ideas from 200 years ago, Thomas Jefferson's words, Samuel Cartwright's pseudoscience, being built into a machine and shaping healthcare for generations. Examples like these go far beyond medicine. Be sure to follow, like, and share because there's a lot more myths to bust.